Okay, bass sound design from this jazzy whip. So, evidently not finished, the mix is bad. But basically what's going on here is this is just like a really simple spectrally bass that I'm like low passing so that it sits more in the mids and adds like a little bit of excitement but doesn't like overbear and take over the whole track. So it's literally just like a saw wave from Ableton's wavetable. I don't know what this is mapped to. Let's have a look. Okay, this is just a low pass, or no, band pass. So it's just like standard saw into band pass style Neuro thing. What is making it interesting is there's just enough high end coming out of this that this like filter table can operate on it. So this is basically just a really complicated bass that I've just thrown into this, and then I'm automating the format and the gate and a bunch of other stuff. It's free. You can probably have a look on UNSet and find it. Bristow, that is. But with this bass, and I would like to go through that, except for the fact that it would take me a million years because it's really unnecessarily complicated. To give you context, I'm tuning that by basically using an arpeggiator to play notes at audio rate and then pitch it around like that. And then it has a bunch of like all manner of weird business with spectral gating, and I think I'm doing like feedback, and I'm using spectral compressor to like compress against itself post feedback loop so that it changes a bunch. Anyway, yeah, weird stuff. Just grab like any complicated bass sound and throw it into like Freaky Table and then pitch it around to sort of get like this spectral quote unquote sample crap sound. And the rest of this is just more processing to kind of tidy it up a little bit more. So spectral gate so that it's a little bit less bright and there's more emphasis on the mids. OTT to contradict myself. Auto shift because I like it moving around heaps. OTT, same thing as before. This is telling it now to behave itself after I've OTT'd it and auto shifted it. I probably could not have any of this and just have the OTT plug data effects and then like a dimension expander or something to make it wider. But this is how I've chosen to do it apparently. Anyway, still liable to change. This is a silly way to do this, but I'm splitting the lows and the highs like this. This is really silly. I really don't need one of these. Like I could probably just do this and then bin that one. Oh, today. I probably could just do that. But the idea is that I'm just splitting like the bass from the highs and the mids, and then I'm applying dimension expander to the highs and the mids to sort of make it a bit wider. I could probably do with a Pro Q to make it less sharp, but I don't really care. This doesn't need to exist. It's already compressed a lot. OTT, just like a final touch, and then more dimension expander. This also doesn't need to exist. So that's one of them. This one is a little bit more complicated and is actual bass design. So this was my attempt at doing like a mid-tempo plucky bass, a bit like Underbelly's music. So Underbelly does a bunch of guitar adjacent stuff, like a guitar adjacent dubstep, where it's basically just like really heavily processed guitars or basses that sound like guitars via like amping and just like heavy distortion. So all that's going on here is that I have like a sub. Oh no, I guess I don't even have a sub. I have this waveform, it's going through a bandpass filter and it's getting notched to add like some more movement. This is modulating everything. Okay, so it does have sub. Using some chorus and distortion and more filtering to get some movement. In fact, why don't I turn all this off so that you can actually understand what the difference is. This is with off. So yeah, so it sounds like a guitar basically. So I was trying to do that guitar style bass that I've heard Underbelly do a million times. OTT, and then this is probably a high-end slam. Yep, so this is just shaping the sound of it. So I'm using this amount to make it, to map it to this envelope MIDI so that it sort of pops out, but it still behaves like a donk. OTT, because bass music. Spectral gate, just like before. Except now I've also mapped this to this envelope MIDI so that when the envelope closes, it does more gating. So it sort of removes the noise floor as the bass decays. Because otherwise, if I added a bunch of OTT later to make it brighter and sharper, it would also pull out this huge noise tail and it wouldn't be function like a donk. And then just shaping it into something that's a little bit warmer. I've got this saturator that's doing a lot, as I'm sure you can see, and I'm pretty sure this is mapped to the envelope MIDI. Except now I'm actually bringing out the body of the bass. So this is to sort of make it less like a donk and more like a bass sound that had a little bit more sustain. And I'm allowed to do this because this removes the noise floor before I bring it back out again. So no noise, and then it brings out the tonal stuff that's still decaying. And then I'm just distorting it, basically. That's all this is doing. I have this turned down, otherwise it gets a bit farty. Yeah. Utility doesn't need to exist. High passing the sides, because I like to hear the sub in mono. M side is doing absolutely nothing. Terrific. G clip is probably clipping. Yeah. Yeah, as you can see, it's definitely doing good clipping. Adding another filter. I don't know why I chose to do this. Oh, probably to make it so it didn't just overbear the whole mix. This is some interesting business. Yep, I'm doing more high-low splitting. So this is really doing all the crunch. This is sort of like Cohen sound style processing where you band split and then you distort the highs. So I'm using dimension expander here to make it a bit wider, and I'm using Hamburger, which is a plugin developed by my mate Dave, with this bias knob turned up, and this is just making it really crunchy on the highs. Multiband dynamics, again, I'm just shaping the sound. I don't know what the hell I was thinking when I did this. Interesting decisions have been made. But yeah, shaping it so it doesn't rupture my eardrums, but also so it's loud enough. This is fake width. This is a thing that I made. It also doesn't need to exist, I guess. I'm convolving it with the radio mode because I like how that sounds. That's without it, and then with it, it sort of makes it sound a little bit more like lo-fi without me having to do any thinking. Another completely insane multi-band dynamics. Yeah, so I'm just basically slamming everything in this mid-high range into a compressor to really bring it out, so it's super in your face. And then I think I've just literally duplicated it and then played around with these knobs again. I guess not, but you sort of get the idea that it's cut off at the same range. And then I'm EQing it, so I didn't need to do any of this stuff. Yeah, as you can tell, this project's a little bit old. I don't know why I made these choices. But yeah, high passing it, subtle EQing, more shaping of the timbre. So now I'm making the mid a little bit more focused. EQing to break it right, and then G clip and limiter to make it louder. And then this auto filter finally, so this is literally just so that I can mix it into the everything. If I was actually making a bass, it probably wouldn't be here. That's just to add the filter sound so that it behaves nicely with the other basses. So, sorry, I actually don't have the patch for this bass because it was on my previous version of this laptop before I destroyed it by accident, and I didn't back it up. So I only had the export. I got one of my friends to split it with the FL splitter, and that's what these are. It's the hi-hats and stuff. What's this? So I can probably explain what's going on here with this. That just sounds like I've made like a standard Neuro bass with like a filtered saw, and I've got some distortion, and I've got like a phaser on it, and then I'm band splitting like I was doing before, except I believe on the mid and high band I'm actually frequency shifting it up by maybe 300 hertz, which is the reason why it has like this weird overtone. This is really straightforward. This is just a Neuro bass. So you just make a respace and then you put like a gazillion notch filters on it and move them around. That's it. And then you add like portamento and like bend so that it like follows the pitch and goes wah. This, I actually think that it is not this exact bass that I just walked through, but one that's very similar. Yeah, that's basically it. This one I can't explain. Yeah, that's a mystery to me. That is just like an FM bass, pretty straightforward, sort of following the same ideas here, except less emphasis on like the low mids, and instead I'd be using something like another oscillator here that'd be pitched up a bit higher, and I'd be FMing it so that it sort of sits in the mids a bit more, but generally the same approach to processing, where I'm like maybe adding a cabinet, maybe doing some other stuff to make it sound a little bit more like a guitar and less like a bro step thing. Yeah, anyway, hope that was helpful.